All right. Brandon Newman has been standing by, listening to our conversation. He has been curating comments from several of our conversations this week that people have consumed and weighed in on. And I don't know, Brandon, if all the comments are just because people are looking for outlets to weigh in on it in general, or if they're comments that they're specifically interested in what we have to say. But nonetheless, your thoughts on the conversation we just had, as well as the tenor and tone of the comments and the feedback that we've gotten from our loyal listeners and viewers and subscribers and streamers. We thank you so much, as well as what they've had to say all week about this hot button topic that we're putting to bed after today, Brandon.
Well, good luck with that, because like you said earlier in the show, news is the unusual. And this is the most unusual story. I mean, it's Thursday, and I think the reason why it's such a hot topic in the internet streets is, outside of it being a top 5 internet moment in internet history and Twitter history, people want to know the why. People just can't wrap their minds around why Will Smith would do this. Now, keep in mind who Will Smith was to us before this incident. Before Michelle and Obama, we had Will and Jada. It was like, oh, they can never break up. You know, this is before they started putting all their business out in the street. This was like a first Black Hollywood couple for us. We all looked up to Will and Jada. Yeah, in a very real way. And speaking of Chris Rock being in Boston, I need an addendum to that autobiography that Will Smith put out. Now, on the internet, it sounds like everyone who is not saying he is dead wrong, then you're caping up for him, and you're working too hard to cape up for Will Smith. And that's why people are coming at you in the comments, Michael Smith.
I'm working too hard to cape up for Will Smith?
They think that any excuse for his actions is that. And I say, you got to think about who Will Smith is in this moment, after he's a method actor, got into the character of King Richard, this father who was a bully in some regards. You've seen out in the media to an extent, protecting his children. And he was just still in that mode. Now, I'm not trying to defend it at all, because what we saw was insane and should never happen, and it rose to that level of violence. But I think it is important to think about, when these incidents happen, who are these people at this stage in their life? When Kanye came out and said Taylor Swift had the greatest, he just lost his mother in a very, very Hollywood public way. And also, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to lay out, because there's so much to say based on what you guys
there's no way out. We're going to keep you here for a second. We're gonna keep going. We ain't going nowhere, not yet.
Well, there's a reality. There's a reality to Hollywood being so fake that they can't recognize a real moment as soon as it happens, and that's what I think. There's a whiplash to that, and then everyone talking about how traumatic things have been since then. Like, trauma is dealt with, is connected to pain. So I feel weird about Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes acting like they're going to get smacked up at their next comedy special. That's not the situation that happened. That's why I think trauma is a little bit of a stretch. But I can't speak on how they handle this the same way I can't speak on Jada Pinkett Smith and taking the alopecia joke. But I will say it is a little bit of bullying from Chris Rock at this point, because this joke isn't made in a vacuum. His eyes are set up on Jada and making fun of Jada in the spectrum of this Oscar, and it just felt a little bit too much, too personal.
So I'm looking at this one comment. I should stop dancing around the issue. I don't know how. I don't dance. A, I don't know how to dance. I don't have rhythm. B, I said what I said and I meant what I said. And sometimes what I'm saying has nuance to it. Okay? You may think there's no nuance here. For me, there is. You said I was working too hard to. Somebody said I was working too hard to cape up for Will Smith. I guess. Here's some irony, by the way. I want to point out some irony, Michael. There's some irony to the people who have rightfully observed Will Smith's sense of entitlement when it came to getting up out of his seat and slapping Chris Rock. When, like I said earlier, everybody on the internet think they're entitled to say what they want to say. So that's very hypocritical, that people think they can say what they want, but then want to recognize somebody else's entitlement, even though he was entitled. I'm not caping up for Will Smith. Everything I've said over the last 20 years, and it's going to sound real narcissistic and real egomaniacal, but understand where I'm coming.
Here we go.
More than usual, but understand what I'm talking about. It's about me. And I love, whenever possible, to attach a larger message to these stories. I'm inconsistent. And I live my life by a certain code of don't start none, won't be none. I don't know Will Smith. We ain't got nothing in common other than a surname. Okay? I don't know him. I'm not caping up for Will Smith. And I've said that he shouldn't have gone up and slapped him. I wish he would not have. But I think too many people in this world, I'm speaking from experience and observation, too many people in this world think they can get away with saying whatever the hell they want to say to people. And that's our problem. So you want to talk about Will Smith crossing the line and not respecting boundaries and not being respectful? It goes both ways. Nobody respects anybody nowadays. And that's the problem. Because too many people don't recognize other people's humanity, A, and B, they ain't afraid of getting smacked.
I think that is a separate issue. I think that is a valid issue on its own. I don't think that's what was happening here, though. I don't think. I'm
just talking about for me. I'm talking about me. I'm just talking about my perspective and my commentary on it. Yeah. Separate and apart from what Will's motivation was or Chris Rock, I'm talking about how I see it through the prism of my worldview. That's all I was addressing.
This is interesting. This is interesting, though, right here. Say, the celebrity of Jada, joke aside, it's almost like when we talk about the guy and not the woman. Well, they are both public figures. They're both celebrities. So it's not like, hey, you can talk about me, but don't talk about my family. But what if your family is just as famous as you are? Right? So I don't know if that quite applies in this case with Will and Jada.
I mean, it's still people. And I think another thing about celebrities.
I'm not saying dismiss their feelings, but
no, not to you.
But there's a little more latitude. There's a little more latitude with celebrities, right?
Yes, that comes with the territory. Yes. So you're saying, let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that he's not, that she's fair game because she's a celebrity in her own right, and that he should understand that. So beyond the quote-unquote toxic masculinity of rescuing the so-called damsel in distress, you're saying this is not just a regular damsel, this is a public figure.
I want the camera on her, too. I wanted the camera on her the whole time. What if she had just said, hey, Chris Rock, F you. F you. Or flipped him a bird, whatever. Okay, fine. Like, Will, why is he in it? I mean, she's capable. She's capable of handling it herself without going up on stage. But you don't go up on stage, and he doesn't either.
But Michael, again, we have assigned the whole protecting his wife thing, partly because of what he said in his speech.
Because of what he said.
But
what he said from the audience. Keep my wife's name out.
But here's the ego part. Here's the ego part. Here's the trauma part. And here's the part that he talked about in his book. He didn't just go up there for JD. He went up there for him. Right or wrong, he went up there for him. So you're saying she's capable of defending herself. He might not have only been thinking about, oh, I got to go up there to defend her, even though the laugh is still confusing. He might have been like, this is for me as much as it is for her, which that may be the narcissism you talked about. That may be the ego, the toxic masculinity. I get all of that. I'm simply saying one thing led to another. I'm a very chronological thinker. It doesn't mean that the response was necessary. The response, it happened, because that's what happens oftentimes in the streets and not at the Oscars. But that's what happens when you say something about somebody that's personal. And all I'm saying is, how about we just all respect one another more than we do? Let's be more compassionate in general, and nobody will get slapped or worse.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.